the Liberty Podcast with Clint Armitage. We are proclaiming liberty one show at a time, and the next one starts right now. What's up, everybody? Clint Armitage back again. One more episode with the Liberty Podcast. All right, thanks for coming. Thanks for joining. Thanks for listening. So this is another episode with Bible numbers. And this time it's the Bible number 7. We're going to find out what the meaning of 7 is, or at least we're going to relate it to some of the passages and kind of figure out what it is and what it means and how God uses the number 7. And 7's a big one. But we're also going to be talking about Noah and how the number 7 kind of comes within that story of Noah, of the flood. Now, we already looked at number 6 and Genesis 6, made that relate, we related those. And now we're going to relate the number 7 and Genesis chapter 7. All right. So we're going to continue on with that. So we're going to start off, we're going to read through chapter 7. I'm going to stop every time I see something kind of noteworthy and kind of talk about it a little bit more in depth. And then we'll continue get through chapter 7. And then we'll start talking about the biblical significance of the number 7. All right. So, first thing I wanted to, as we jump into this here, you're going to notice something. I think you're going to be surprised at one of the things that we're going to talk about here within the first couple of verses of Genesis 7. It's kind of cool. Not many people know because they know the story of the flood and Noah and the ark, but sometimes they don't know about this specific thing. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Here we go. Chapter 7, Genesis, verse 1. The Lord said to Noah, "Go into the ark, you and your whole family, because I have found you righteous in this generation. Take with you 7 of every kind of clean animal, a male and its mate, and 2 of every kind of unclean animal, a male and its mate, and also 7 of every kind of bird, male and female, to keep the various kinds alive." All right, let's stop there. First, I wanted to bring this to your attention here because this is the one thing that you may not recognize or know. Now, everybody's familiar with the animals going into the ark, right, in twos. Well, what you may not know was that God actually called for 7 pairs of twos, right? That's why you saw what it said there. It said 7 of every kind of clean animal, male and its mate. Okay, male and female. So a pair, but 7 pairs. And then unclean animals, something like the pig and things that you weren't supposed to eat because of health reasons, different reasons that God said, hey, these are clean animals and these are unclean. But for the clean animals, the Lord said 7 pairs of animals. And then for the birds, 7 pairs also. Okay, so that's kind of a cool thing that you may not have known, right? So now we're going to get into verse 4 here. Here we go. 7 days from now, I will send rain on the earth for 40 days and 40 nights, and I will wipe from the face of the earth every living creature I have made. And Noah did all that the Lord commanded him. All right, so first off, well, we hear the number 7 mentioned in verse 4 there, 7 days from now. So from the time that that God told Noah, hey, I'm going to flood the earth, 7 days from then is when he actually did it. And so just a little note on the number 7, the number 7, the meaning of the number 7 is completion or perfection or, finished. That kind of, meaning goes along with the number 7. So completion, perfection, finishing or finished. And so verse 4 says, in 7 days from now, I will send the rain. So within 7 days, boom, the Lord was finishing his plan of flooding the earth there, okay, or completing his plan of the flood. So now in verse 5, again, Noah did all that the Lord had commanded him. And I said this in the last episode. How Noah was able to do everything is he got some divine help there because, man, this massive ark, it hadn't rained. And I was reading a little bit on rain, right? Because at first there's different schools of thought. One school of thought says that it had never rained on the earth prior to the flood, right? Which is kind of what I believe. Then the other school of thought is, hey, there's not enough indication in the Bible to let you know that it didn't rain prior to. It could have rained. And then I was researching something, and one of the things that I found out was supposedly raindrops, the rainbow is created by refracted light, right? Well, that's refracted light from raindrops and from the rain. And I thought, oh, well, I guess it hadn't never rained then because this was the first time the rainbow had shown up. And unless the Lord, it didn't do that, you can kind of think like, okay, it's probably the first time it rained then, because the rainbow is refracted light off of raindrops, which I thought, oh, okay, cool. I get that. So I'm still of the school of thought that it had never rained prior to, because the Lord had, mist and things and moisture on the land prior to coming from the ground and all that. So no, not necessary to have rain. Okay, so let's move on to verse 6 here in chapter 7. Noah was 600 years old when the floodwaters came on the earth. And Noah and his sons and his wives and his sons' wives entered the ark to escape the waters of the flood. Pairs of clean and unclean animals, of birds, and of all creatures that move along the ground, male and female, came to Noah and entered the ark, as God had commanded Noah. And after the 7 days, the floodwaters came on the earth. Notice how he mentions it again, right? God lists here, after the 7 days, the floodwaters came. It's to kind of show that what he says comes true, and that's when it happened. He said it was going to happen in 7 days. It happens in 7 days. So the Lord's word is always good. And so that's the one thing, is timing. We don't know his timing all the time. We don't know when things are going to happen, because he doesn't tell us specific time frames all the time when he promises things, right? But as long as he has promised you something, you can know that his word is good, and you can hold on to that. You can hold on to his promises, because there is nothing that he has said that has not come true in your life. If you think about it, he's always provided, right? He's always provided for you. He's always made sure you got through things, even though you thought maybe you couldn't get through this, whether it be a divorce, whether it be, issues with friends, issues in school or at your job, your workplace. You didn't like your job. You had a tough time with that, drugs. Whatever the situation, if God told you he was going to get you through it, he got you through it, right? You just had to rely on him. So we can, count on his promises there. So in this case, he tells Noah, hey, 7 days, I'm going to flood this place. And in 7 days, it started to happen. So it says there in verse 10, and after the 7 days, the flood waters came on the earth. And before that, I wanted to mention this. Is it like if you were of Noah's day, right? Because as we're going to, find out, Noah and his family is the only ones that got on the ark. 120 years, he's preaching to everybody to get on the ark, that God's going to judge this place, and no one repents, no one turns to God. And so they don't believe Noah, right? And then so they don't get on the ark. But wouldn't it be kind of a clue if you were anywhere near this ark? And again, you don't know exactly where it was, where he was building it, if anybody could see, if it was out in the open, in the forest, who knows? But we do know this, that God had all the creatures that move along the ground go to the ark. So they went to the ark. So wouldn't that be kind of an indicator for you if you were in that time? If you weren't Noah, if you were just some other person there, and you see animals walking in pairs and they're walking towards something, and then they walk into the ark by themselves, that God had called them to the ark. And so I would think that would be a good indicator that, something's happening here. I better figure this out. So anyways, that's just interesting to me. And I thought about it like, well, yeah, if I was there, I'd be like, hey, that's weird. They're all walking into the ark by themselves. I better talk to Noah. So anyways, that interesting to me. So let's move on to verse 11 here. In the 600th year of Noah's life, on the 17th day of the second month, on that day, all the springs of the great deep burst forth, and all the floodgates of the heavens were open, and rain fell on the earth 40 days and 40 nights. Okay, so Noah's pretty old, man, 600 years when the flood came. Then you find out that he lives a lot longer than that after it's all done. Also, you see that the rain fell on the earth for 40 days and 40 nights. We'll probably be talking about the number 40 as well in the future here. And we'll find out how the biblical number of 40 plays into the meaning of 40 and how it plays into the Bible and what God kind of uses the number 40 for. I've mentioned it before, and we'll talk about it again in a future episode. So, all right, let's move on again. Verse 13. On that very day, Noah and his sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, together with his wife and the wives of his 3 sons, entered the ark. They had with them every wild animal according to its kind, all livestock according to their kinds, every creature that moves along the ground according to its kind, and every bird according to its kind, everything with wings. Pairs of all creatures that have the breath of life in them came to Noah and entered the ark. The animals going in were male and female of every living thing, as God had commanded Noah. Then the Lord shut him in. Okay, cool. Again, you see that God called the animals to Noah and they entered the ark. And they also came in pairs, male and female, because obviously to procreate, you need a male and female. So the Lord has the pairs of male and female going into the ark. And interesting enough, he does it with the humans as well. It's Noah and his wife, and then his 3 sons and their 3 wives. So total of 8 of them going into the ark. And then you'll see later on that what he tells them to do, in a future chapter, he tells them to basically multiply. So, all right. So now we find out that the Lord shut him in, because I'm sure it was a big door on the side of that ark that Noah had built. And so I don't know how he could close it being that big, or whatever. Maybe he could have with a certain, device that he created or whatever. But it says here that the Lord shut him in. So, that's kind of cool. The Lord showing himself and shutting that door for him. All right, verse 17. For 40 days the flood kept coming on the earth, and as the waters increased, they lifted the ark high above the earth. The waters rose and increased greatly on the earth, and the ark floated on the surface of the water. They rose greatly on the earth, and all the high mountains under the entire heavens were covered. The waters rose and covered the mountains to a depth of more than 20 feet. That, so I'm going to stop right there real quick at verse 20. A depth of more than 20 feet. So you think about it. Every mountain on the earth, 20 feet under the surface of water. So now add to that, what's the highest mountain on earth? Mount Everest or whatever, 10,000 something. And then you add 20 feet above that as well. So that's a lot of water. Okay, on to verse 21. Every living thing that moved on the earth perished. Birds, livestock, wild animals, all the creatures that swarm over the earth, and all mankind. Everything on dry land that had breath of life in its nostrils died. Every living thing on the face of the earth was wiped out. Men and animals and the creatures that move along the ground and the birds of the air were wiped from the earth. Only Noah was left, and those with him in the ark. Okay, that's the end of chapter 7. But like you can, as you can tell, man, everything got wiped out. Like I said, above the highest mountain on the earth, 20 more feet above that, the water went. So no one could live. Everybody got wiped out. So that's full on. If God wants it done, it's going to happen. We think things are impossible, but nothing is impossible for God. So we got to understand how powerful God is. We got to give him his props when it comes to, and give him his praise and put him in his place, right? He's way above us. And he could do anything he wants. Sometimes we forget that. We get prideful, we get arrogant, and we forget how powerful God is. So we have to remember that. Okay, so there's the story of Noah. We've seen the 7 mentioned a few times. And just like in Genesis 6, where we talked about the number 6 being the number of man, plus being man's sin, man's wickedness, things like that, fleshliness. Well, number 7 is completion and perfection, and God used it right here. He completed his plan of destroying everything on the earth and making sure no living thing lived. And he did that in chapter 7. So it begins the end of mankind, except for Noah and his family. So again, completion, or the end of, right? So that's what that did in chapter 7, was the end of mankind. So again, completion. So now let's talk about the number 7. The Bible number 7 is not only in the Bible and in life as well. The Lord has put his number 7 meaning not only within the Bible as a biblical number, but he's also done it within life. Okay, and so we're going to talk about that right now. So again, it's completion and perfection. Physical and spiritual completion and perfection. Okay, and the end of. Okay, so one of the things with the number 7 is the original breakup of the Bible, the divisions, the major divisions of the Bible, actually was divided in 7 different parts. Okay, first was the law, that was number 1. Then number 2 was the prophets, if you break down the Bible into 7 major divisions. Okay, again, the law was number 1, the prophets, number 2, the writings or the Psalms, number 3, the Gospels and Acts, number 4, then the general epistles, number 5, and then Paul's specific epistles, which is number 6, and then Revelation was number 7. And that was the original major divisions of the Bible. Okay, so that was divided in 7. All right, another number 7 is the Sabbath day, which is the end of the week, right? It's the 7th day. We celebrate in America, it's mostly Sunday. Some Christians will celebrate Saturday as the end day. It was Friday to Saturday night was the original Sabbath. So the Sabbath is the end of the week. So it's the 7th day, okay? And there's 7 days in a week. And then the 8th day is a new week, right? So the 7th day is the end of the week. Now, let's read Genesis 2:2. This is what it says, quote, "By the 7th day, God finished the work he had been doing. So on the 7th day, he rested." So again, God finished, right? Completed his work. He did it in 6 days, and then the 7th day, it was completed. All right. So again, the number 7. Now, here's some things in life that you may not know, but there's actually 7 natural music notes. So it completes the musical spectrum of notes in the natural. Okay. The natural music notes come in 7 notes: A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. So those are the 7 natural music notes. Again, completion of music, right? That's the end of it in terms of natural music notes. Now, and if you don't know what natural music notes, it's the, on the piano, it's the white keys. That's the natural music notes. And then you've got the sharps and all that, and the minors and all that. But the main musical notes are going to be the A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. Next, 7 colors in God's rainbow. God's rainbow actually had 7 colors in it. It was also the covenant sign from God to us that he'll never destroy, all life with a flood again. We'll hear that in the next episode here. But 7 colors in God's rainbow. That's pretty cool, right? So that's cool. Now, here in the Bible, there's a couple of different places that we can talk about the number 7. So in 2 Kings 5:10, Elisha says to a guy by the name of Naaman. Basically, Naaman's a soldier. He comes to Elisha to get cleansed of his skin disease. Well, Elisha sends a messenger out to him and says, "Hey, go wash yourself in the Jordan and your flesh will be restored and cleansed." He tells him to wash himself 7 times. Okay, so wash himself 7 times. And right there, God uses the number 7 again to complete this miracle. The miracle is completed. All right. Last one we're going to talk about with the number 7 and how it connects to the Bible here is in Joshua chapter 6. That's where they actually take Jericho. So in Joshua chapter 6, God tells Joshua to send 7 priests with 7 trumpets to go around, to march around with his army around the city of Jericho for 6 days, once per day for 6 days. Well, on the 7th day, with 7 priests and 7 trumpets, Joshua was instructed by God to march around the city 7 times. So again, on the 7th day, the priests and the army march around, 7 priests and 7 trumpets march around 7 times around that city of Jericho. And then after the 7th time, they're told to blow their trumpets and shout. Well, they blow the trumpets, right? The 7 trumpets are blown, and then the walls of Jericho collapse. So God uses the number 7 here multiple times in his plan to destroy the walls of Jericho. Another miracle that happens, and it's done at the end of using the number 7. So all this number 7 is all, it's used throughout the Bible too. I mean, there's a passage in the New Testament where Jesus, I think Peter asked Jesus, "Hey, how many times do we need to forgive people? Is it 7 times?" And then Jesus says, "No, 70 times 7. All right. So again, it's used as a perfection number or a completion number. Shoot, even the number 70, which is made up of 7, right? 70 is a completion of a generation. That's a generational number. The end of a generation is at 70 years. So, man, all this cool number 7 stuff that the Bible, utilizes. So if you look throughout the Bible and read throughout the Bible, you're going to see a bunch of number 7s throughout. And even in Revelation, all throughout the Bible, you'll see the number 7. And when you do, I want you to notice how it connects to either completion or perfection or ending something. And then you'll kind of start to connect all these little nuances that the Lord can show you in relation to the number 7. All right. Well, thanks for coming by. I appreciate you listening. My name is Clint Armitage. If you want to support the podcast, go to our website, clintarmitage.com. And once you purchase a t-shirt, They're cool t-shirts. They have cool sayings. It's all Christian stuff, and it's related to the podcast that we do. They're really cool t-shirts, and they have good sayings and all that. But I just wanted to throw that out there so you can check out the site, and that'll support our podcast by purchasing a t-shirt. That way you get something, and then we get something to keep this podcast going. All right? If you have any questions, feel free to get in touch. My name is Clint Armitage. This is the Liberty Podcast, and I want you to stay safe, stay motivated, and keep seeking liberty. Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Liberty Podcast with Clint Armitage. If you want to get in touch, email us at info@clintarmitage.com.